Hi everyone, the topic for this week is PA paradigm. So this is more of the finer summary of what we've learned in this course throughout the semester. So for example, in the first day of the class, we said that Simon's argument is linked to NPM and Waldo to NPA. Then we have to understand what those are. So this week we're gonna cover three main paradigms in public administration, including new public administration, new public management, and network governance. Before we discuss further, and before those three paradigms, there had been traditional public administration, which can be explained with uh, Bavarian bureaucracy that we discussed in previous week. And uh, just for uh, just for a brief review, it is characterized with hierarchy, impersonality, rule orientation, and etc. And those kind of characteristics define the form of a government from 1880 to 1970. So for the first paradigm that we are going to discuss is new public administration. It was a paradigm during 1960s and 1970s. And the background of its emergence was that the increased uh, the, is the increase of government spending following World War II and the the widespread Keynesianism, which emphasizes the government or government expenditure for welfare programs. And at the same time, during the civil rights movement, the voice of minorities increased, and bureaucrats were criticized for their biased treatment of certain minorities. People believed that traditional bureaucratic system that emphasizes impersonal treatment of bureaucrats created this kind of problems. Because of the reason, the first point of new public administration is social equity. Public administrators serving a client should delve into activities designed to enhance the political power and economic well being of the deprived minorities to achieve social equity. The role of government was believed to correct the imbalanced and unfair resource distribution for minorities. In here, equity refers to the equal shares that demand special treatment for those who were disadvantaged in the past and requires compensatory. Equity is different from equality because equality treats everyone the same, while equity is rebalancing the resource imbalance for benefiting and in the direction of benefiting disadvantaged people. And one of the examples can be quota hiring as a remedy for racial discrimination. The second point of new public administration is client focus, meaning that the relationship between bureaucracy and clients and as well as widespread client participation in decision making. Here, clients are deprived minorities. So, for the MPA scholars. And MPA did believe that government agencies should be decentralized so that citizens impacted by a particular program hold more control over the program. The maximum feasible participation can suggest to low income residents that they are able to influence publicly made decisions closely associated with their well being. They emphasized the participation of a low income people or the disadvantaged, even if it is unjustifiable in terms of efficiency. So they prioritized those social equity issue over efficiency. They shed light on the position of minorities who had been ignored in government process. And further, MPA highlights their participation in the decision making and implementation processes if they were impacted by government programs. And the third one. So the third point of NPA was the support for policy administration continuum. They believed that administrators are inevitably involved in political activities. They are the ones who should care about those minorities. And NPA thought administrators should not be politically neutral, and they should be permitted with greater involvement in the advocacy and support for policies for minorities and those who are less fortunate. Also, MPA viewed administrators' professional judgments as very important, and they trusted those administrators' professional judgment. And because of that, they said self-actualized administrators must encourage their clients to assert their social values in the political arena. Administrators are not just mere machines that implement a policy as a traditional public administration assumed. NPA viewed those administrators as active facilitators to draw the voice of minorities for the for for their for their missed benefits. And while MPA was also correcting the problem of the traditional public administration, during 1980s and 1990s, the paradigm shifted to NPM, New Public Management, to overcome the hierarchical, authority-driven, and monopolistic public service delivery. There was criticism towards public service organizations for their inefficiency and unresponsiveness to the public's demand. And further, there were financial crises in the Western world, and due to the reason people called for saving costs and also the innovation of the government form. The first point of NPM is business type managerialism, using business methods to restructure government, prioritizing efficiency for the justification. NPM emphasizes bureaucrats' expertise, neutrality, and political guidance are three major important elements. It seems similar to traditional public administration, except that NPM did not emphasize rules, regulation, and hierarchy, which were the characteristics of government form under the traditional public administration paradigm. NPM highlights the secure professional management expertise with high discretionary power so that favorable results can be achieved. NPM tried to free public managers from a bad system, which is overburdened by a plethora of cumbersome and unnecessary rules and documentations, and regulations and other constraints. Deregulating the internal management of a public organization and decentralization of a structure were suggested. Nevertheless, bureaucrats are expected to be politically neutral, and NPM thought elected officials should set the goals. Political officials only have discretion in deciding how to deliver those politicians' goals. The second point of NPM is the market driven management. It emphasizes the performance of public organization, and they believed that those performance can be enhanced if public services are exposed to market forces. So following this, key concepts of NPM are competition, incentive structure, and customer satisfaction, where citizens are considered as customers. Governments use privatization and contracting out to follow this paradigm. This means that goods and services are delivered by the private sector but paid by the government. They did this because they thought business would allow more efficient service delivery than government, and which can ultimately reduce the uh, cost and save taxpayers money. The monitoring of contractees became important. However, since 21st century, the paradigm shifted to network governance. The background of its emergence is the criticism regarding new public management that self interested individuals or the public as customers could not effectively address contemporary complexity of policy problems. Also, the outcome of NPM's market driven management forms the foundation of network governance. And this was possible because in, uh, during uh, during M season, they increased the number of private and non-for-profit for profits to be included in the government service delivery through contracting out and privatization. However, NPM only had the top-down approaches in collaboration, and there were need for empowerment in this network or empowerment of this network. Network governance's first point is that it is management paradigm that focuses on network-based collaboration among the public, private, and voluntary sectors in decision making and service delivery, as well as in the development of civic engagement to solve community issues. While they emphasize the collaboration, their main question was how to deal effectively with networks and to encourage holders to participate in policy making. So here for the definitions of the key term in network governance. The network is a structure involving multiple agencies and organizations with complex linkage. Further, network governance is a particular framing of cooperative decision making and implementation that is illustrated with a trend for wider scope of participations to be considered as legitimate members of cooperative procedures in the context of significantly uncertain and complex. In simple terms, it emphasizes the participation. And of course, collaboration. The second point of network governance is the five elements of uh, that public administrators should work on. And those elements include a stakeholder approach, deliberation and collaboration, citizen participation, a relational approach to service procurement, and adaptation and learning. However, we will cover three of them in this video, which I believe are important. So first, a stakeholder approach is based on thoughts that for a legitimate decision, all stakeholders must be involved, which includes business partner, community leaders, and other professionals and citizens. However, there is a problem in complexity of accountability. That means we don't know who is in charge in the network system. Because of the reason, network governance also emphasizes the direct involvement of users and stakeholders. And the second element of network governance is deliberation and collaboration. Deliberation is important in that dialogues are necessary for establishing directions for society. And here, the role of administrators is to gather relevant stakeholders in settings, providing unconstrained conditions for the exchange. And the reason behind this work is to have the participants a collective sense of the public interest. Network governance assumes that public interest is a result of a dialogue uh, concerning the vision for society. Collaboration here is a longer term, unified process through which participants who have different views examining their differences and search for solutions for better. The third element of network governance is citizen participation. A particular framing of cooperative decision making and implementation that is illustrated with a trend for wider scope of participation to be considered as legitimate members of the cooperative procedures in the context of significant uncertainty and complexity. And in order to do so, network governance believed that government must empower citizens by engaging them in decision making. And this is because they believed that citizen engagement can strengthen democracy and sense of shared responsibility. And further, network so further the so the so the participation, the citizen participation in network governance, they believed as an extended obligation of a citizenship that go beyond the voting. So, as a summary, the network governance believed active participation of citizens are important to to like maintain and create checks and balance of accountability and checks and balance of the power and creates solve the accountability issues in networks. So that was pretty much it to explain what are the differences of the paradigms. That includes new public administration, new public management, and network governance. So for NPA, they emphasize the social equity and particularly the participation of a marginalized group in decision making. And also they saw the public and the policy and administration as continuum. However, in new public management, NPM emphasizes the value of efficiency. And also, they emphasize market driven management and business like management paradigm. They use contracting out and privatization, and they viewed uh, policy administration dichotomy as the as the ideal type of relationship between policy and administration, or we can say politics. Network governance, they emphasizes like public values and collaboration. And also they have elements including a stakeholder approach, deliberation, and citizen participation. Their views regarding the relationship between administration and policy or politics is more of like hybrid type of it. So this was pretty much it for today, and we will have a discussion in class based based on those three different based on the contents of those three different types of paradigms.